You wake up every day telling yourself you're working on it. You've got the books, the podcasts, the breathwork sessions. You've journaled, meditated, trauma released, reframed, inner child healed. You've been a good student of self-help. You've been obedient to the rituals of recovery. And yet, when the room is dark and the phone is down and the distractions fade, the emptiness is still there. That quiet, familiar gravity. It doesn't feel like healing. It feels like management. Like you're babysitting a wolf that will eventually tear through the cage. You've told yourself you're integrating, but in truth, you're negotiating. You've given your pain a new language, a softer name, and a couch to sleep on, but you've never thrown it out of the house. You've hidden it behind acceptance. You've disguised it as compassion. You've convinced yourself that feeding it slowly is better than starving it completely. Carl Jung warned about this. He wrote that what you do not make conscious will rule you as fate. But what men miss is that this isn't a poetic line, it's a war strategy. Every part of you refuse to confront grows teeth in the dark. And while you're busy labeling your trauma and understanding your triggers, those teeth are sharpening. Understanding is not mastery. Naming is not neutralizing. And healing is not negotiating. You can't heal what you're still protecting. You can't transform what you still cradle like a dying child. You can't rise while carrying corpses from your old life strapped to your back. Men confuse tolerance with wisdom. They confuse endless processing with growth. But some wounds do not want to be processed. They want to rule. They want obedience. They want your identity. And as long as you keep calling that healing, you're not recovering. You're domesticating your own destruction. Look at your habits. Look at the patterns you can't seem to break. The late-night scrolling. The subtle rage in your relationships. The constant search for a father in every mentor, a mother in every lover. You've built a life where your shadow can feed itself through ritual. It's not integration. It's enablement. It's self-betrayal disguised as self-compassion. Jung called this spiritual possession. When you let an unconscious force take residence in you and speak with your voice. When you confuse the shadow for the self. When the part of you that should have been killed long ago starts wearing your clothes and shaking your hand in the mirror. And here's the raw truth no one's going to say in a TED Talk. Some things inside you must die, not be analyzed, not be journaled about, not be endlessly understood, killed, put down, starved, severed like a rotten limb before it poisons the rest of you. Until you do, you're not healing. You're breeding. You're raising the very creature that will one day destroy your marriage, sabotage your work, drain your soul. And when that day comes, you'll tell yourself you don't know why it happened. But you'll know, because you fed it, because you refused to kill it. This is the real beginning of manhood. Not the rituals, not the slogans, not the endless circle of self-improvement, but execution, but burial, but standing over the grave of the boy you used to be and not flinching. This isn't therapy. This isn't coping. This is war. And until you accept that, you'll keep mistaking your leash for freedom. You've been lied to. You were sold a vision of healing that looks like comfort. Soft lighting, soft language, soft practices. Like healing was about making peace with pain, not going to war with it. They told you to hold space, to be gentle, to be endlessly compassionate with every part of you, no matter how dysfunctional, no matter how destructive. But this is not healing. This is sedation. Carl Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Yet you've been taught to pursue comfort like it's consciousness, to worship emotional safety like it's salvation, to cradle your demons instead of confronting them. What if I told you the modern healing movement is just a more palatable version of avoidance? A cleaner, more articulate form of self-betrayal? A loop where you learn the language of transformation, but never taste the blood? Because here's what no one tells men. Real healing hurts. It mutilates the part of you that has been keeping you safe. It strips the mask. It kills the role. It forces you to bury the parts of you that everyone praised but were built on fear. You don't feel empty because you're broken. You feel empty because you've built your life around protecting what needs to die. You've mistaken numbness for peace, stillness for strength, repression for maturity. Let's call this what it is, masculine stagnation. You say you want growth. You say you want freedom, but you don't want cost. You don't want to give up the fantasy. You don't want to feel the grief of letting go of the man you pretended to be. So you compromise. You compromise your standards so people don't reject you. You compromise your truth so you don't seem too intense. You compromise your rage, your sadness, your instincts, all for the illusion of peace. This is the lie you live in. You don't want healing. You want relief. And because you want relief more than rebirth, you seek the kind of therapy, the kind of spirituality, the kind of coaching that soothes, but never severs. Jung didn't believe in this version of healing. He didn't think you could talk your way to wholeness. He believed in the confrontation with the unconscious, in facing your own darkness until it speaks your name, and then strangling it until it obeys your will. He saw the psyche not as a playground for self-discovery, but as a battlefield where gods and beasts fought for dominion over your soul. And here's the brutal part. Most men lose, not because they're weak, but because they think this battle isn't real. They think they can intellectualize it, out-journal it, out-meditate it. But the shadow is not afraid of your insights. It's not moved by your affirmations. It doesn't respect how many books you've read. It only responds to force, to decision, to death. You don't need more tools. You need thresholds, lines you will not cross, beliefs you will not negotiate, parts of yourself you will not resurrect. This is why you feel empty. You've been circling the edge of your own becoming, waiting for it to feel safe. But there is no safety here, only fire. And fire does not ask for permission. So let me be clear. If you want to become whole, you must kill the man you were trained to be, the agreeable one, the passive one, the emotionally neutered one, the one who thinks that to be healed is to be liked, the one who thinks that being understood is more important than being sovereign. You are not here to be understood. You are here to become, to remember that God didn't make you to be digestible. He made you to be divine. And divinity demands sacrifice. You feel empty, not because you lack love, but because your soul is occupied. Something else is living your life, wearing your name, speaking your voice, choosing your relationships, smiling in your photos. But it's not you. Carl Jung called this spiritual possession, when the self is hijacked by the very masks it created to survive. The persona, the animus, the scripts you perform to be accepted, they don't just protect you, they begin to replace you. And the longer you play the role, the more distant you become from the one who cast it. This is the betrayal that wounds men at the root. Not abandonment by others, but abandonment of the self. Let's speak plainly. You abandoned yourself to be liked. You abandoned your instincts to be understood. You abandoned your masculinity to be palatable. And now the soul you locked in the basement of your being pounds at the walls with rage. Not because it hates you, but because you forgot it exists. You think your emptiness is depression. You think it's a lack of serotonin, maybe a hormone imbalance. Maybe you just need better routines, more cold plunges, more breath work, more alignment. But the truth is far darker. You are not sick. You are haunted by the life you didn't live, by the boundaries you didn't set, by the words you swallowed, by the moments you betrayed what was real to maintain what was expected. Jung warned us, if you do not face your shadow, you will project it. You will see weakness in others that you deny in yourself. You will blame women for the very softness you indulged. You will call the world evil while playing the good man in public and the dead man in private. The shadow is not your enemy. It is your exiled king. It holds your power, your anger, your ambition, your truth. And every time you repress it to appear balanced, you starve the only part of you capable of real wholeness. Let that sink in. You are not becoming better. You are becoming emptier, because you're editing your soul for social approval. You post quotes about authenticity, while carefully curating your personality. Like a brand, you praise vulnerability, while hiding your grief in sarcasm and productivity. You speak of sovereignty, but still outsource your worth to how many hearts you get on a post. This isn't growth. It's possession. You are not possessed by a demon. You are possessed by your own survival strategies. Let's name them. The nice guy who never says no. The spiritual man who bypasses confrontation. The achiever who builds empires but can't sit alone in silence. The empath who forgives too quickly because he fears being alone. These are not your true self. These are the masks you created in trauma. And now they are the gods you serve. Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. You've done it with performance, with ambition, with enlightenment. You've built a palace of mirrors, and now you can't find the window. You've optimized your life, and euthanized your essence, and so you wander the world with a full schedule and a hollow heart. Let me ask you, When was the last time you were real with yourself? Not productive, not spiritual, not inspiring. Real, ugly, unfiltered, broken, raging, free. That is where the work begins. Not in your planner, not on your therapist's couch, but in the ashes of the man you pretended to be. You want to stop feeling empty? Then stop feeding the ghost of yourself and start feeding the soul. If your soul is starving, then your healing begins not with adding, but subtracting, not with fixing yourself, but with killing the thing that replaced you. And make no mistake, that thing is well fed, well liked, well followed. It's the persona you've spent years perfecting, the polished version of you that knows what to say, when to smile, how to sound wise, how to seem balanced. But here's the bitter truth. You can't heal what you still serve. And most men serve their mask like a god. They pray to it daily with every forced conversation, every filtered post, every agreeable nod that betrays the fire in their chest. They sacrifice their truth to the altar of likability and call it growth. Carl Jung didn't want you to become better. He wanted you to become whole, which means dragging the disowned parts of yourself back into the light, not to fix them, but to listen to them. You want to feel alive again? Then stop running from the part of you that doesn't fit the brand. Talk to the anger. Talk to the sadness. Talk to the unhinged, unfiltered animal inside of you. Don't shame it. Don't medicate it. Don't explain it away with your therapist's vocabulary. Let it speak. Let it scream. Let it rage. Let it burn down the prison of good behavior you built around it. This isn't regression. It's reintegration. The only way out of your emptiness is through the parts you've buried. You say you want healing. Then confront the fact that healing isn't always gentle. It isn't polite. It doesn't always come with incense and safe spaces. Sometimes healing looks like a controlled demolition. Sometimes it sounds like your own scream echoing in a room you locked from the inside. That's the shift Jung demanded. From repression to integration. From adaptation to authenticity. And here's the paradox. The world will punish you for doing this. Because the world doesn't want whole men. It wants harmless ones. Compliant. Predictable. Soft-spoken. Men who trade their edge for etiquette. Their power for peacekeeping. Their instinct for ideologies. So when you begin to change, when you stop apologizing for your intensity, when you stop explaining your silence, when you stop participating in your own emasculation, you'll lose friends. You'll scare people. You'll feel alone. But hear this. That pain is holy. It means the false life is dying. It means the shadow is rising. It means your soul is returning. Let it. You were not built to be agreeable. You were built to be dangerous and devoted. A man with a sword and a soul. A man who has seen his darkness and does not run from it. Let me remind you, you're not crazy. You're not broken. You're not too much. You're just waking up from the coma of compliance. And the first breath always burns. Not reckless, not violent, but dangerous in the way a man becomes dangerous when he no longer needs validation to exist, when he no longer fears disapproval, when he no longer sacrifices truth for peace, when he no longer kneels to be seen. The modern world confuses safety with sanity. But Carl Jung knew, the man who is whole is never safe, because wholeness includes the parts you were taught to amputate, the part of you that says no with a calm face, the part of you that walks away without a justification, the part of you that holds silence like a sword and doesn't flinch when someone panics at the sound of it. You want to be untouchable? Stop reacting. Your power is hemorrhaged every time you flinch for approval, every time you scramble to explain yourself to someone who was never listening. Practice holding tension. Let others be uncomfortable. Let silence stretch across the room like a razor. Observe more. Speak less. Master the pause. That's where the soul lives, in the space between impulse and expression. The man who pauses before he speaks owns the room. Because he's not performing. He's not adjusting. He's not leaking his need to be liked. That's dominance. Not loud. Not aggressive. Just clean. Still. Rooted. Understand this. Most men are performing for a judge that doesn't exist. They act as if every room is a courtroom. Every relationship is a panel. Every silence is a threat. But here's the truth. You are being measured, not by what you say, but by what you allow. Every boundary you bend, every truth you dilute, every script you play along with. It's recorded in the souls of the people around you. Not consciously, but energetically. Your energy teaches people how to treat you. Every time you flinch for love, it tells them, feed me lies, I'll pay in loyalty. So stop flinching. Let them misunderstand you. Let them call you cold. Let them say you've changed. Because you have. You are no longer the role. You are the man beneath it. This is the weapon. Not charisma. Not charm. Not relatability. But presence. Clean, solid, non-performative presence. You do not chase. You do not beg. You do not justify. You just are. And that is enough. Jung called it individuation. Nietzsche called it becoming the Übermensch. But you'll know it by another name. Peace. And it's not found in other people's approval. It's found in your ability to hold your own truth in the storm of their discomfort. You don't heal by being understood. You heal by understanding yourself so completely that no misunderstanding can unmake you. You don't heal by killing your shadow. You heal by standing beside it in full daylight, unafraid. And once you do, you become untouchable. Section 6. The Echo. You were always the fire. You were never broken. Just buried. Under expectations. Under niceties. Under masks that smiled while your soul starved to death. You became what they needed. So they would love you. So they wouldn't leave. So they would approve. But somewhere in the quiet moments, you knew. You always knew. That you had betrayed something sacred. Not because you sinned, but because you shrank. You traded your roar for applause. You traded your instincts for a checklist. You traded your fire for safety. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." He knew. He saw the war. The one waged not in the world, but within. The war between the man you are and the man you pretend to be. This is not about healing. This is about resurrection. The resurrection of the dangerous man. The man who has walked into hell, shaken hands with his shadow, and walked out whole. That man doesn't beg. He doesn't explain. He doesn't perform. He stands, not as a role, not as a mask, but as a presence that bends the air around him. People say they want truth, but they don't. They want comfort. They want affirmation. They want you to smile while your spine breaks. But the man who has faced his inner chaos, he doesn't care. He doesn't need to be liked. He needs to be real. Because truth is a God. And this God is not sentimental. It doesn't care if you cry. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care what your therapist told you. It wants your soul, unmasked, unapologetic, and burning. So the question is not, will they accept you if you change? The question is, will you accept yourself if you don't? The truth is, you will never be understood by people who require you to be false. You will never be loved fully by those who only know your mask. You will never be free until you're willing to be hated for your truth. So here we are. You're not at a crossroads. You're at a reckoning. There's no going back. Only into the fire, into the dark, into the version of you that never needed saving. Only remembering. So don't heal. Reclaim. Reforge. Resurrect. And when they ask why you've changed, look them in the eye and say, "Because I finally remembered who I was before the world taught me to forget." Now, comment if you felt that. Subscribe if you're done playing small. And share this with a man who's ready to burn the old mask to the ground. Because the world needs dangerous men again. Not violent, not bitter, but awake, and unafraid to walk alone.